Hey guys, it's Purple Ferret here, and unlike last video, I am recording way ahead of time, well in advance, and I am working on a backlog. I've been in a really inspired mood lately, especially with this one. This drawing took me only 2 hours to do because I drew it really fast, and that's on top of redesigning this character because this is another older character, but she was slightly redesigned. I say slightly. Her entire outfit and hairdo changed, so it's like a complete redesign, honestly. I did keep the same rough color palette. I kept the light purple and the muted blue color from her original design. I kept the stripes on her skirt and the blue band around her waist. What did change is there's significantly more black in her design, because it used to just be her hair and her eyes, but now it's a lot of her outfit is black and there's significantly less color in her design. The original idea I had with her design was for her to have the same outfit she had as a kid, but a little bit more grown up. And I never really got around to doing that. I just really liked her kid design and was just like, I'll come up with a design later. I'll fix it later. And now it's later. It's like 5 years later because I haven't really touched this story in forever. It might seem a little bit bizarre that I wanted her to wear her childhood outfit, but a little bit more grown up. But let me explain why. So you look at the title of the video and it says the Carnival Reaper, right? She is the Carnival Reaper, but it's not entirely evident in this form of her design. And the reason it's not is because this is a pastel goth take on her original outfit. Originally, she was wearing a purple and blue dress with stripes on the skirt of the dress, a bow tied around the waist. It had little puff sleeves that also had stripes on them, and a little, I think it's called a Peter Pan collar. I need to look it up. Okay, yes, it is called a Peter Pan collar, and she wore pigtails at the sides of her head, which is another thing I changed. I changed it to where she has a half up, half down kind of hair, where she has buns with the little longer pieces of hair sticking out of it, but also the rest of her hair is just down. Now, the reason she needed to resemble her childhood design was entirely a plot point in my head that honestly doesn't need to happen that way. So, she's a Reaper because she died. She was murdered as a little girl, and as a little girl, she was like very upset knowing that he got away with it because she knew that her body was hidden and no one saw anything and that no one was going to catch him, so he was just going to get away with it. She wanted to get back at him in whatever way she could, and whatever way she could came down to a few options. She could just simply wait for him to die and show up in the afterlife and her realize it's him and basically just torture him, because in this scenario everybody goes to the same place regardless of religious status, regardless of how they behaved. It's basically just a second existence in which you can interact with the first existence in select ways, and you are kind of marked based on your moral status, but no one is forcing you to be tortured. It's people will treat you poorly if they know you were a bad person. And so her first option is just wait for him to get there and treat him poorly, which she didn't want to wait. Another option was reincarnation, where you just go back onto Earth as a new person. The things you feel strongly about will come with you into your next life. She hates him a lot, so it's possible she would remember him. But what are the chances she would be born close enough to him and then get to a point where she's old enough to do something about him on Earth and him still be alive to endure it? So that option was out. And so the next option was her become a Reaper and have the chance to reap his soul. And reaping his soul isn't necessarily a painful process. It wasn't painful for her because it was a release from the pain she was enduring. The Reaper that took her soul let her die quickly because they knew it was her fate to die, and letting her suffer would have been immoral. So she's all like, hey, I can do the opposite of that. And that's exactly what she's planning to do when she finds him. She's going to let him suffer a long, painful death entirely out of spite. Few issues though. She doesn't remember what he looks like. She doesn't know his name, and she only remembers his voice. So that makes knowing when he's going to die really hard because she doesn't know who he is at all. Essentially, Ebony is just hoping that one day she'll get assigned to his case and she'll get to take his soul. And one of the ways she's trying to guarantee that is by specifically asking for only the cases of men that fit the age that he would be at any given time throughout her working and in the area around where she died, because she doesn't know how close he actually lives to where she died. As time goes on, she wants to broaden the scope because what if he moved? Or what if he goes on vacation? She's very anxious about missing her chance to be his Reaper. And Cliff, the Reaper that took her soul, is like, I get the revenge plot. However, you need some empathy in you, girl. Because she is so obsessed with her goal that she treats the people she reaps like suspects when they fit the criteria. And that's a problem because the job of a Reaper is to help guide the soul to the afterlife. And if she is super unenthused about helping them because she's too busy being disappointed, that's a big no-no. And so she's being intentionally given other cases that don't fit her criteria, which upsets her, but she understands why, and Cliff is her mentor and she cares about him a lot, so she's not going to argue too much, but she basically says, if any come in that fit the criteria and you think even for a second it might be him, please come get me and swap so I can do that one. Reapings don't usually take very long. A Reaper is usually sent within 24 hours of the reaping, and the only reason it stretches to 24 hours is because sometimes the person has something that would become unfinished business, and you can die with unfinished business, but not fate-specific granted business that you need to finish. Like, this is kind of leaning into the story and less the backstory and the world building. But, for example, the case that she gets assigned is this guy named Henry, and Henry needs to confess to his crush at a carnival and be rejected before his death. And it's not because being rejected has anything to do with the cause of his death or anything. It's his act of confessing and then him dying is going to have an effect on the people that knew that he confessed, meaning it's going to have butterfly effects on the girl he confessed to, her friends. It's going to have ramifications that cannot be understood. So people can die without having achieved their dreams, but if they were supposed to do a specific action before they died, they physically cannot die without doing that action. They have to have that effect on people. Some people don't have unfinished business when they die because within 24 hours of their death, they already did the thing at an earlier point in time that was going to have an effect on people, so they don't need to worry about it. Usually the range is a couple of hours before, sometimes it's minutes before. Reapers are sent with a little bit of extra wiggle room on time so that they have the chance to find the person and then make sure that everything runs smoothly and then reap their soul. And since this is a story and stories are interesting because they have conflict, you can imagine how the situation with Henry goes for Ebony. Now, I'm not going to delve into any of how that goes today because I'm going to save that for a speed draw where Henry and Ebony are present, maybe some other characters. I think it'd be interesting to show their first meeting. It would be drawing a lot of unnamed background characters and stuff, but I could do shadow type people and make it interesting looking. There's some things I want to try out with that. Another world building thing I should probably mention is the people in the afterlife. Their soul takes the form of how they really see themselves or how they want to look a little bit. And Ebony wanted to keep aging, so she didn't just randomly decide to be an adult. And she's not an adult, she's a teenager actually. She let herself keep aging. Eventually, she's gonna find a stopping point where she's like, I'm done aging for now. Also, her eyes with the black scleras and the white irises and pupils, that is entirely a Reaper trait. And it's not a permanent trait. It's when she's working, she has them, but humans can't see them. So us, the audience, could see them just because whenever she's in the presence of characters who can't see it, it would be nice if that was visually indicated by her eyes looking normal. If she's not working, which she's going to be working most of the time we see her in the afterlife, so she's going to have them on in the afterlife, but on Earth, it'll be entirely dependent on if she's talking to Henry or Cliff. Wow, I talked a lot and ended up in the reveal without running out of things to talk about. And there's so much more I could talk about. I could talk about the actual plot of the story. There's more world building actually, because Reapers aren't the only job you can have. So there's a lot more going on with the afterlife because you have people that their entire job is to welcome people to the afterlife and get them settled. A Reaper's job is get them to the afterlife. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye!